You're walking barefoot across your backyard, and somewhere between the garden bed and the patio, you step close to a low mound of loose, fluffy soil. No hole, no visible activity. You don't think twice. Then your foot registers heat, then your ankle, then your calf. By the time your brain processes the first sting, hundreds of ants are already on you, biting to anchor, pivoting, stinging in arcs, and they are not stopping. These ants have killed people. Not from the pain, from what the human immune system does in response. And the mound you walked past looked exactly like dirt. That mound is the giveaway, if you know what you're looking at. Most people don't. The red imported fire ant is reddish-brown, small, and completely ordinary looking at a glance. It shares that description with harvester, pavement ants, and several native species that cause nothing worse than a sharp pinch. There are no stripes, no dramatic markings, no feature that screams danger from a distance. The ant itself doesn't advertise what it is. The mound does. Dome-shaped, loosely textured, with no opening at the top. That last part is the detail most people miss entirely. They look for a hole. There isn't one. The colony enters and exits through underground tunnels that branch outward beneath the surface, which means the structure protecting hundreds of thousands of workers is invisible until you disturb it. That underground architecture is exactly why the attack seems to come from nowhere. When you kick a mound, step near it, or let a lawnmower pass over it, the vibration travels through the tunnel network instantly. Workers surge upward in seconds, not toward the disturbance, but onto it. They climb. Legs, shoes, clothing, skin. And here is the part that changes everything. They don't sting on the way up. A fire ant bites first, locking its mandibles into your skin to anchor its body. Then it pivots. Then it drives its stinger in. Then it pivots again, stings again, and again, typically 7 or 8 times per ant in a circular arc pattern. That bite anchor step is why victims often don't feel the ants until the stinging begins in mass. By then, dozens to hundreds of individual ants are already committed. The trigger for this isn't anger, it's chemistry. When the first worker is disturbed, it releases an alarm pheromone that recruits surrounding workers instantly. That chemical signal spreads through the mound faster than you can move away, which is why victims who freeze or move slowly receive the worst outcomes. The colony isn't coordinating a decision, it's executing a reflex. You are not being hunted. You are being treated as a threat to the queen, the brood, and the colony's survival, and the response scales to the size of the perceived disturbance. A colony of fire ants contains between 100,000 and 500,000 workers. That number isn't impressive in an abstract way. It's relevant because it tells you something about what a full defensive response feels like versus what stepping on a bee nest feels like. Bees sting once and die. Wasps usually retreat after several seconds of contact. Fire ants continue until they are physically removed or the threat stops presenting. After rain, a colony can relocate overnight and rebuild its mound in a completely different part of the yard. The mound you walked past yesterday in the clear is not guaranteed to be where it was this morning. The venom they inject is unlike any other common backyard insects. 95% of it is solanopsin, an alkaloid compound, not a protein the way bee or wasp venom is. That alkaloid directly disrupts cell membranes at the sting site. Within 8 to 24 hours, a small, sterile, white pustule forms at each sting point. Not infected, not pus in the traditional sense. It's localized dead tissue from alkaloid damage. The remaining 5% of fire ant venom is protein, and that fraction is what the immune system can learn to overreact to over time. That distinction, alkaloid damage plus protein sensitization, is the mechanism behind why fire ants carry a danger that goes beyond pain. Approximately 14 million people are stung in the United States every year. Most experience localized burning, swelling, and the distinctive pustules. But a portion of those people have been stung before, enough times that their immune system has become sensitized to the protein fraction. When that happens, the next encounter can trigger anaphylaxis, not just at the sting sites but systemically, with hives across the body, airway swelling, blood pressure drop, confusion, and cardiac events. More than 80 deaths have been attributed to fire ant anaphylaxis in documented U.S. medical literature, and that number is almost certainly undercounted. The problem is that sensitization develops unpredictably. You can be stung safely dozens of times over years, and then your immune system changes its classification of that protein. You do not know it has happened until the next encounter goes wrong. Children and dogs are in a particularly bad position in this scenario. A toddler who walks into a mound cannot articulate what is happening. A dog that sniffs or paws at one will receive stings across the face and paws and cannot tell you that its throat is tightening. Early anaphylaxis symptoms in both lethargy, drooling, facial swelling, and difficulty breathing can be missed or mistaken for something else. Time is the variable that matters most in a systemic reaction, and the window between first symptoms and serious danger is short. Here's something that genuinely complicates how you should feel about fire ants in your yard. They are predatory generalists, and some of what they predate on is legitimately useful to remove. Fire ant workers consume flea larvae, cockroach eggs, and tick nymphs. Studies have documented measurable reductions in Lone Star tick nymph populations in areas with established fire ant colonies. In agricultural settings, they suppress armyworms and other crop pests. What they are doing in your yard, at a biological level, includes pest control you would otherwise have to pay for. That function is real. The limit of that fact is equally real. Fire ants are an invasive species. They have displaced native ant species across their entire introduced range, species that perform the same ecological functions without the medical risk to humans, pets, or ground-nesting wildlife. Fire ants also kill ground-nesting birds, attack newborn livestock, and damage root systems. The pest suppression comes at a cost that overwhelms the benefit anywhere children, pets, or sensitized individuals are present. The function doesn't make the colony safe to tolerate near inhabited space. If you've been finding this useful, subscribe. This channel covers what's actually living around your home and why the standard advice on most of it is incomplete or wrong. And speaking of incomplete, let's talk about the mistakes people make when they try to deal with fire ants, because several of them make the situation significantly worse. People assume fire ants only sting if you step directly on a mound. They don't. Foraging workers travel up to 100 feet from the colony. You can be stung in the middle of a lawn with no mound visible anywhere near your feet. People assume the white pustule means the sting is infected and that they should pop it to drain the infection. Both conclusions are wrong. The pustule is sterile tissue damage from the alkaloid. Popping it breaks the skin barrier and creates an actual infection site. Leave it alone, clean it, apply a topical antibiotic to the surface if you like, and let it resolve on its own. People try to kill a mound by pouring boiling water, gasoline, or bleach into it. Gasoline is an environmental hazard and doesn't reach the queen. Bleach dissipates before penetrating deeply enough to matter. Boiling water reaches only a fraction of the tunnel depth and typically kills surface workers while displacing and agitating the colony, which may relocate into a new area of your yard or closer to your home's foundation. People assume that because they've been stung before without a systemic reaction, they're immune. They're not. Sensitization is cumulative and unpredictable. A clean history does not mean a clean future. Now for the human behaviors that create encounters. Moving a lawnmower across an uneven patch of lawn without scanning for mound formation. Reaching barehanded into mulch beds, around HVAC units, or along the base of landscape, edging without visual inspection. Wearing sandals in a yard where fire ants are established. They climb the straps and are on your ankle before you feel them. Letting a child or pet investigate a mound while you're looking elsewhere. Trying to kill surface workers with a short stick or shoe, which places your hand or foot directly in the recruitment zone. The most useful behavioral correction is counterintuitive. When ants are on you, the instinct is to freeze or swat. Freezing gives them time to anchor and sting. Instead, move away from the mound immediately. Brush ants off with a firm, sweeping motion, and don't crush them. Remove clothing if ants are under it. Get away from the area first. Deal with what's on you second. For the colony itself, baited insecticide products using hydromethalnon, spinosad, or indoxacarb are applied around the mound, not into it. Workers carry the bait into the colony. The process takes days but reaches the queen in a way that surface treatments do not. For heavy infestations near structures, play areas, or livestock, licensed pest control is the appropriate response. If you have had a prior systemic reaction to any insect sting and you spend time outdoors in fire ant territory, that conversation belongs with an allergist, and a prescribed epinephrine autoinjector belongs in your outdoor kit. So go back to that mound in your yard, the low, fluffy dome with no hole at the top, sitting in a sunny patch near the driveway. You walked past it this morning and it looked like dirt. Now you know what that shape means, what's beneath it, how fast the response deploys, what the venom does to tissue, and why the danger isn't just the burn. The ant that produces that mound is removing fleas and tick larvae from the same lawn your kids and dog use. It is also capable of killing someone who has been stung enough times before. Both things are true. Neither cancels the other. If you found that mound tomorrow, fluffy, dome-shaped with no visible hole, what would you actually do? Leave it? Treat it yourself? Call someone? Drop your answer below because I want to know how many people are still walking past one without recognizing what it is. The dirt pile in your yard has never been just a dirt pile.